Welcome everybody to Business Monday. I am Josh Fenton, CEO of GoLocal. We're here at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. It is a fairly nice wintry day in downtown Providence, right here in the financial district. I've got John Carroll. He's the head, the grand poobah, the guy behind Atlantic Footcare. Growing concern, manufacturing mecca up there in North Smithfield. Plants all over the world. Business is pretty good.
Yeah, it's got its ups and downs. I guess one year it's terrific, another year you're fighting for your life.
How was 18? Was that a good year or a fight for life year?
18 was a fight for life year.
18 was a fight for life year. How's 19 looking?
Much better.
19 is looking much better. The good news about your business is just about everyone has 2 feet.
Yeah.
A lot of people have 1 foot and a few, you don't catch up with. But talk a little bit about, you make insoles, manufacture high-tech insoles for lots of different branded distributors. Talk a little bit about how the business started. When did it start?
The business has actually been around for the better part of 30 years, actually even longer. I've been involved with them. Current business and its predecessor for near on 30 years.
That's right.
And so they were a bunch of hippies out of the Cape Cod area, and they didn't quite know what they were going to do with their life, so there was only so much time they could spend surfing. They needed to pay the rent, so they stumbled upon this area, and they literally almost created the business because there was not such a product before that.
And what was the genesis of it? I mean, just sort of, you don't really need a foot insole for surfing per se. What was the genesis of the idea?
It was actually believe it or not, the original effort was Dr. Scholl's. They were working in the area of polyurethane foams, which have great cushioning properties, and somebody from at that time, it was Shearing Plow. That's one of those companies that's gone through a lot of transitions from one corporation to another. But back in that day, it was Shearing Plow. And the brand Dr. Scholl's was owned by them. It's owned by, today, it went from them to Merck to Bayer. It's owned by Bayer today for the Americas.
Yeah.
And then there's a company called Reckitt Benckiser who owns the brand for the rest of the world. And they're a British-based large corporation.
And you supply them?
We work with Bayer. We work with Reckitt Benckiser.
Yeah.
We don't work with Bayer. We lost that account probably about 20 years ago. And we're in the course of trying to win it back again.
Good for you.
Because we can prove we've done it with more complicated tasks to do it with a company that ships to probably about 50 different countries.
That's right.
And out of our Vietnam facility.
So you've got North Smithfield, you've got about upwards of 100?
About
folks.
60, 70 people there
60,
right now.
70 right now, mostly in manufacturing.
Yes, that's all we do there.
And then you've got Vietnam,
Yep.
and then you've got India.
Yep.
And how is it running a complex global business these days? How many watches do you wear? Are you using your phone in all the different time zones? How's that working for you?
Well, you call Siri up to say, where am I and what time is it?
I can handle 2 time zones. My brain would not function strong enough to be able to handle 3 time zones.
Well, we do actually have a corporate policy that you do not call people outside the hours of 8 in the morning till 10 at night. And so do not call somebody in Vietnam at 3 in the morning. It's unfair.
How many people in Vietnam? How many in India?
India's about 60 and growing very
Yeah.
fast. And Vietnam is over 400.
That's great. And what's the biggest challenges, besides time zones and diverse locations of your facilities? What's the big challenges in 2019?
It'll be probably the tougher thing we have to cope with is small, very interesting projects that take a lot of resources to, some of the other jobs, like we just, what was Fight for Life last year, was we took on a major program with Puma. and we had never experienced the variety that came at us. So you go from one extreme of complex, multi-mold, multi-style products to the one we have up here in Rhode Island is for a company that put implants, GPS trackers in the insoles.
Wow, interesting.
And fascinating. You walk away from your, so it's mentally, it's meant for the, say, people with dementia.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and if they walk away from home, they want to stay in the home.
Yeah.
If you walk away by more than 100 yards from your home, it triggers a signal into your cell phone, and you pick up you pick it up on your GPS smartphone, and it tells you where Grandpa is.
That's
and
great.
Go fetch him.
And that had you done that type of technology application into an insole?
No, but
previously?
we worked with we do a good job of working with really tech developers
Yeah.
who have, want to find out what your pulse rate is, what your gait is when you're running and stuff like that. So they all come to us because they know we can embed these plastics into these electronics into the insoles.
How smart are insoles getting now? What's the amount of data? What's the diversity of data that's now being captured out of microsensors that you're embedding in insoles?
All kinds of stuff. First, your location is the one we talked about.
Sure.
Secondly, there's others that are doing predictive analysis on your gait as to whether you might have apparently there's people who've got theories about your gait will be triggering problems with dementia sometime in the not too distant future. That's someone else's theories, algorithms that are working on that. We do have, we worked and still working with the Wyss Institute at Harvard Medical School, where it's a really interesting thing that something called stochastic resonance. It took me a long time to rehearse that word.
You did a beautiful job with it, and I'm completely impressed.
Yeah, it triggers a subsensory vibration. You don't even know you're wearing them, but it triggers, and what it does, it stimulates the nerves that run all the way up between the brain and your feet. And part of their claim is it improves balance by at least one generation. So if you're, 60, you've got the balance of a 40-year-old. And that is a claim that actually is backed up. But there's others that suggest that you can stimulate the oxygen flows to the extremities, thereby aiding in things like diabetes.
Interesting. I never would have thought the applicability of so much technology could be derived from an insole. Yeah. I just, the simple fact that I could remember to put the insoles in the shoe is stretching my intellectual capacity. Where does the company go? Does it just get smarter and smarter and smarter, or do you need to balance the science applications coupled with, I need to make a lot of these to sell at CVS's around the world?
Now, our problem is we don't even sell at CVS. We've sold a lot of the companies that sell to CVS, but we never had to sell directly, which is always a mystery to me.
Yeah.
But
have you ever thought of your own brand?
Yeah, we have, but the other reality check that we have is that Scholl's is the only brand in this industry. Yeah. Okay, we have
they
actually
dominate retail.
Yeah, we've got a brand of our own, Prothotics, that we use for. We actually had the University of Texas School of Medicine establish that this was the best, what they call pre-made orthotic. In fact, pre-mades are better than custom-mades because custom-mades are more rigid materials, and the human foot is much more dynamic. So we can measure it's been independently measured that we can spread the weight load around. I don't know if you know that in a diabetic insole, that it's the hot spots is where your skin starts to rub against it and can cause an ulceration. And that's when it becomes very, very serious for diabetics. So we have a brand called Prothotics that's caters exclusively to the medical community. It's size specific rather than these one size fits all when you go into a CVS or a Walmart.
As more technology hits sports, is there the apparatus, the capacity in the near future in which NBA coaches could be looking at data on an iPad that has how many steps Kyrie Irving's taken? And,
yeah, they can. All that measuring is there already. But there's an interesting. We worked on a project we've got a small R&D lab up in Barrowville, and we worked on a project with Adidas, Reebok. There's high energy return materials, and we actually had some, pretty senior executives from Adidas come in, and they gave them a demonstration that you could, drop a ball on our materials, and it jumps much higher than any other material.
So I could be dunking by working with you
I've already,
maybe the end of the week?
I've already made the claim. I'm after that. That's my slot. In fact, the guy was, the fellow from Adidas was going, well, how do we market this? And I said, can I make a suggestion? And all of his guys around, they don't talk back to the big boss there.
Right.
So can I make a suggestion? He says, why don't you use me in your advertising programs? I'll come up and leap up and I'll dunk that ball.
I think everybody remembers the famous, I believe it was a Reebok product, the pump, and D. Brown in a slam dunk contest in the NBA weekend pumped up his sneakers before, and that product exploded in sales.
Well, this is high energy return materials, and they really do. They can kick back because when when you jump down on that small amount of space, the pressure going in that spot, if it's really good materials, it can throw you like a trampoline, basically.
I'm all about it. I'll be up in Burrillville by the end of the week.
Get yourself a set.
John, what's it like working in Rhode Island? How's it in recruiting, retaining, building the workforce? What are the challenges?
Actually, I escape all the political nonsense. It's pretty easy for us to do what we have to do in Rhode Island. In fact, there's pieces of me that kind of says we don't do enough. We don't tie ourselves in enough to the universities. We should.
Yeah.
And the other part is, Commerce has done a wonderful job for us. We started out and got the benefit of their, I call it basically seed money.
Yeah.
And so they've been excellent partners. And I said our first loan was over 11 years ago, paid off probably it was a 5-year loan, it was paid off, and then we bought our own factory, and they support us in the purchase of our own factory.
That's right.
And I don't think anyone can ever doubt the quality of life living in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Occasionally, you kind of get a little scratch your head about how the hell does the state manage to spend all this money? I mean, it's a $10 billion budget, and I live in East Greenwich, and they got another big chunk of cash they spend too. So I know I'm wandering off into the politics of that, but it's, shall we say that other than that's a mystery to me.
So I always ask the question when somebody's worked with Commerce, what was the downside of working with Commerce?
I didn't have one, and that's not, I mean, I would love to give you one. I'd love to give you one, but I couldn't. In fact, I felt bad for that whole saga with the movie studios was the lad that we worked with at the time, Sean Eston, was
he was a 38 Studios point person.
Yeah, he was, and he wrote that cover your year-end memo. But he was a good guy. I mean, we didn't get any passes from them. We had to approve our business plans, etc. And but we work now with Dan Price and Bill Ash, and they've all been good people to work with. I mean, I wish I could tell you that they were mean and nasty or.
Mary's coming up next. I'll get it out of her. John Carroll, congratulations.
Thank you.
We love to hear the stories, love to see the growth, love to see the global nature of the business. And congratulations on the success. I always say, any of us who are entrepreneurs, the nonstop growth straight up to the right is not a very likely scenario for many companies. It is a series of steps up and down, and you hope it continues to go up, and it's exciting times, and it's just a wildly exciting time because the pace of change in business, of how quick things move.
Yeah, I mean, my first ever job was at a graduate school, was actually with a consulting company. The first job after that was in Attleboro, and for a company there called Leach & Garner. And the principals there, they considered a trip to New York City exotic, and had to be home by night. What's the last train leaving the town at? And so we actually get on a plane now. The considered progress for us is to get on a plane in Boston and have one shot straight to Hong Kong. 16 hours on a plane, and you check out all the movies and read any number of books you want to read.
That's great. John Carroll, thanks so much.
Josh.
Stay right here for 1 second. We're going to be right back. We're going to be back with Mary Sadlier from Adventures. Hold on 1 second, and see you in 1 minute.